Welcome to Thinking Green. I'm Rana, and before I introduce tonight's guest, I just wanted to add one item to the calendar about hygienic events that are going to be going on this weekend, and that is the cabaret that will be going on Saturday evening at 33 Golden. I think everything else is on the calendar, and of course the point is to walk around downtown New London and try everything anyway. So we'll see you there. Tonight's guests are Amy D'Amico and Amanda Shanks from Habitat for Humanity of Eastern Connecticut. And I think that Amy and Amanda were on like the very first time I had guests from Habitat maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So welcome back.
Thank you.
I guess maybe to start, I know everyone's heard the name Habitat and Habitat for Humanity, but maybe you can talk a little bit about your roles within Habitat and what the main mission is.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe in the opposite order, if that works better.
Okay.
Well, the main mission of Habitat is to work with local families in need to create simple, decent, affordable housing. We're a home ownership program, so families purchase the homes from us. The homes are built using volunteer labor and donated resources and funds. The families work alongside volunteers on their homes. That's really the quick overview.
And within that organization, what have you been doing?
I am resource development manager, so I do grant writing and fundraising and some event planning.
What about you, Amanda?
I'm the operations manager, so I do a little bit of event planning with Amy. I do some volunteer relations, some general operations. I work with family selection and support in our faith communities. I think that's all I do.
Do a lot.
Now, how did you get involved with Habitat?
We both started as AmeriCorps members several years ago. AmeriCorps is a national program that places volunteers in year-long roles at nonprofit organizations, and I think maybe some government offices too, and you receive a modest stipend. And we were both fortunate enough to have that roll into employment. So.
That sounds great, actually, because I think you might have still been with AmeriCorps the first time you were on the show.
Definitely.
And so it's really interesting to me to see that more than 5 years later, you're still with the same organization. So
yeah, we feel lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Now, you had mentioned something about the selection process.
Sure.
So let's say there's a family, or there are families that are interested in housing through Habitat. What's the application process, and what are you looking for in potential owners?
Sure. So anybody who's interested in applying for our program, we ask them to go to what's called an applicant information meeting. And at that meeting, we tell all about what our program entails, and we give them the opportunity to fill out a pre-application, and then they can turn that pre-application in, and then those who look like they may qualify can fill out a full application, and then we would select families based on that. It's kind of a lengthy process because we're looking for families who have a need for stable, affordable housing, who are willing to put in the time and energy to build on their home and the homes of others, and then also have an income that can support the humble mortgage payment.
So, really, what is the success rate in the long run? Like when people buy homes through Habitat, do most of them hang on to their houses, or not? I know a lot of first-time homeowners have gone through a lot of problems,
Right, yeah.
in general over the last few years.
We do a lot of classes and education around our home ownership process. So our goal is to keep everybody in their home, and we try really hard up front to help give people the skills to be able to maintain their homes and to make the right choices to be able to financially maintain their homes. I don't actually know our specifics on the exact retention rate or whatever
Yeah, I
that
was
might
just
be.
curious. I'm guessing it isn't a huge problem.
I don't think so.
Not huge, no. We have 61 homes right now. And maybe in the past, since we've been there, we foreclosed on, I don't know if we've foreclosed on any.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
We really try and work with the families.
So it's really in contrast with first-time homeowners without any programs who are just going into buying a house without any training or screening or
Right.
support.
And as the lender, we're not setting people up to fail. We're not lending them more than they can afford on their homes, too, so that helps.
So what kind of income guidelines do you look for potential owners?
We work with families, they earn 30 to 50% of the area median income, so that varies based on family size.
Okay.
But it's low to very low income. Is what it,
Yeah, but it has to be a stable income because
Yes.
they are expected to make payment. Now, are the Habitat loans, are they no interest or low interest, or how does that work?
In the past, they've been interest-free. We're looking at other partnerships and models for mortgages that would still be no profit, but
Right.
maybe nominal interest.
I think like 1% or
Yeah.
something very, very small. But we haven't implemented any of those
No.
yet. So all the homes currently are no interest.
Now, if a person were watching the show and interested, I know before the show you had mentioned that you just recently had a class, but they
Right.
come up a couple of times a year. How would a person get in touch with you so they'd find out about the next round?
They can go on our website, or they can give us a call in the office, and they can give us their contact information, and we'll retain that information until we have another meeting scheduled. And I'd be happy to send them out a letter or call them and let them know when the next one is coming up.
Now, we have, there have been several builds in New London and in the New London area over the past few years, and we do have a few pictures that I hope, well, not yet. Now, you've had a lot of like corporate and other sponsorship of the builds, in addition to just, regular volunteers, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of support have you gotten from the business community in this area?
I think we've had really great support from Connecticut Light and Power. There's a tax credit program that we've applied to called the Housing Tax Credit Contribution Program, and they've supported us through that for several years and have been great supporters. And I think last time we were here with Jim Sylvester from the Coast Guard Academy because the cadets and the Alumni Association were sponsoring a home. Can you think of some other sponsors?
I mean, we've had all kinds of different sponsors. Those are some of the big major ones, but we have groups that come out in groups of 10 to 15 people, and they sponsor just an individual day, which we like to do all the time. We've had churches donate money and also do days or just donate to support the homes.
Oh, yeah, there was one home in New London that was just a bunch of churches and congregations that had gotten together to sponsor. I kind of remember that because I knew the family that moved into that home, that one of the children was one of my students.
Oh, neat.
So what is there a current build project going on in New London right now? Or is winter just a slow time?
No, we build all year round. Right now, we're building on Lincoln Ave in New London. So we're working on that project. It's a smaller home. We're also spending a lot of our time renovating the Restore up in Plainfield, which I know we'll talk about a little later.
Now, I think we have some pictures again, though that's not the right one, so let's go backwards a little. Okay.
There we are.
Now, is this the Lincoln one, or is this another?
This is actually a Norwich home in the Greenville section of Norwich. There was an existing home there, and it was in too bad of shape to keep, so we demolished it, and this was one of the earlier stages of the project.
That's
More
one
progress.
step farther.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I remember at one time, the houses were built to LEED specifications. Is that still the case?
We did have a home that got, I think, gold LEED certification, and we finished that in 2010, I think. And we haven't had any subsequent homes receive certification, but we do build our new homes to LEED standards. The certification process was just really cumbersome for us.
Yeah, it's costly too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and all of our new homes do receive Energy Star 3.0, which is pretty stringent too.
So that's a savings also for the families, that their energy costs are not going to be through the roof.
Definitely. And we put in, I'm not sure exactly what the heating system is, but it's one of those newer heating systems where it's like on-demand hot water.
Oh, right.
I forget what they're called exactly.
The tankless hot water
Tankless, yeah.
heaters?
So that allows them to reduce their energy costs because they're not constantly reheating that tank of water. They get to heat it when they need it, and it's really efficient.
And I'm guessing the appliances and the windows and all of that
Exactly.
are just, purchased to be low energy consumption. Well, let's see. I think there's another picture of the same house finished, or
Yeah.
almost finished.
That's finished, and you can see the front lawn is an example of, we try to do more low maintenance landscaping for some of our families, because a lot of them are single parents with multiple children, so it's difficult sometimes. I have difficulty finding time
Right.
to mow my lawn, so.
And it's less water consumption. It's just all around probably a better choice for a small area like that.
Now let's take a look at, I think this might have been the build that you were talking about last year that was on Jefferson Avenue.
Yep, this is the one sponsored by the Cadets and Coast Guard Academy alumni, so.
Now, how long did they work on that project? How long does it take to build a house?
Well, they did that in a school year, I think. They started it in September and finished it in May. So maybe eight months to a year, typically.
I would say that's about average.
Yeah, because it's getting all the volunteers coordinated and...
Right. And we have to, we close it in, so we get the roof on and all the walls up, and then we have to have our plumber and electrician come in. So we have to kind of take breaks with volunteers so that the plumbers and electricians can come in and do their work, and then we go back to doing volunteer labor on it.
Now, that brings to mind a question. What do the volunteers do exactly? What parts of the house building are volunteer appropriate?
They do pretty much everything. They'll do everything from demolition, so helping us take down parts of old houses, and then they do framing, they do the insulation if we have to put that up, and so sometimes we do spray and insulation, so that's a little bit different. They really do everything: flooring, cabinetry, stairs.
We have professional drywall tapers come, because that's pretty tricky.
Yes.
But other than that, and the trade things, they do everything.
They do the roofs. They really do
Now,
just about
are
everything.
any of the volunteers, do they come from the carpentry trades, or they're just people who are interested in learning about it?
Some of them are skilled. They come from things like that, but most of our volunteers are just people who want to get out there and do things. We have become pretty accustomed to working with novice volunteers. So some of our most regular volunteers used to be teachers or accountants or things like that.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit about the process for families to get houses. If someone wants to be a volunteer, I assume they can't just show up at a work site and pick up a hammer. What's the process if a person wants to be an on-site volunteer?
So we ask that they go to a 1-hour training and orientation, and in that training they would learn kind of what Habitat is, our foundation, and then they see a short safety video about construction, a short safety video about the restore, and they talk about how to sign up to volunteer. And then from there, they can sign up to volunteer whenever they'd like. We hold those trainings at least once a month down in New London, and then we also hold them up in Plainfield. And all that sign up is right online on our website.
And also a sign-up list, like when there will be work days that people can sign up for, is also online?
Exactly, yep. We try to make it really easy so that they don't have to reach us on the phone. You can sign up at 2 in the morning in your pajamas if you want.
You just can't show up that way.
Please
but
don't
you
show
can
up.
sign up.
Exactly.
And well, you mentioned Plainfield, and now you also you talked before the show a little bit about how habitat in this area has gotten bigger. What happened?
Well, in July of 2013, we merged Habitat of Humanity of Southeastern Connecticut, merged with Habitat for Humanity of Northeast. And that was kind of the culmination of a couple years of talks. The Northeast affiliate was all volunteer-based, and they really wanted to continue to serve their community, but I think that the core group of volunteers was getting a little bit burnt out. So we started talking about merging, and now we cover New London County and Eastern Windham County. So I think it's 8 to 10 towns in Eastern Windham County that we cover, and we hope to complete a home a year in those towns. And like we've mentioned, there's a Plainfield Restore that should be opening, I believe, in February sometime.
So, and interestingly, MetroCast shows go out to places like Putnam and Plainfield.
Nice.
So anyone who's watching, people up there in that area might also be interested in information about how to either sign up to be a volunteer or to sign up to be a family in line for one of the homes.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, through the merger, are you going to be able to increase like the number of homes that are built in that Northeast area?
Yeah, in the past they had averaged one home every 2 years, and our goal is a home every year up there.
So it's doubling.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting work on a home this spring in Putnam, and we have another a foreclosed home that was donated to us through a bank property donation in Killingly that we'll be working on after. So.
Now, I have just a couple more photos of, this is sort of a neighborhood in New London that was created by Habitat. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, this is a little before our time, but this is Davis Farm Way. I believe it was a property donation, and I think we built six homes.
Maybe 7. But
yeah.
I don't know, I have one more picture that's across
Yeah,
the
I think-
street, so it seems as though there might be 5 homes on one side and 2 on the other, or
okay.
something.
yeah.
This came from Google Street View to be,
Oh, nice.
It's
in-
good.
yeah. So you can
It's
do
really
a,
good.
like a 360 and see the whole block.
It was nice, though, to be able to create kind of a little community, and it was fun because we built multiple homes at the same time in the area, and it was a few years of a project. The first home and the last home were probably 3 years apart, so it took a few years. But we do hope to do another one kind of similar to that coming up in the future in Norwich.
Yeah, we've been donated, or I think we were donated or sold at a very discounted rate. A plot of land there where we could fit, I think, 8 homes. So that's an exciting project.
So you mentioned donating land. Now, we've talked a lot about people volunteering their time. However, donating land is one thing that you really seek out, I think, in terms of, people helping and supporting the mission. How does that work out?
Well, if somebody has a piece of land or a home that they're interested in donating, they would also contact our office. And usually our construction manager will go take a look at it and see what he thinks of it. And we usually do, I think, a phase 1 environmental test just to make sure there aren't any contaminants that we it would be a
Right.
burden to remediate. And then we work with the donor and their tax professional to make sure everybody has the documentation they need. And they can be as involved as they would like as far as dedication ceremonies and stuff for the houses. So.
Now, are most of your houses built from scratch nowadays? Or are there still a lot of rehabilitation of older houses?
I would say it's about 50-50.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more rehab. So we get property and, you know, homes donated to us or acquired, and we kind of work on some new construction and some rehab at the same time.
It sounds like kind of a puzzle. Sometimes you get land without houses, sometimes you get houses, and you've also been donated, I think, houses that had to be moved. Or, well, maybe not. I thought at one point maybe.
I know there's a picture of one on a truck going
Yeah.
over the Gold Star Bridge, but
Yeah,
that was way before.
That was before us, but I mean, I
It could be
feel
a
like
long
you're
time
right.
ago, but I
Yeah.
think there was one in New London that was, the building was donated by Pfizer, but it ended up going
Yeah.
I feel
on a
like
piece
you're
of land
right.
in New London. So that isn't real common, but I guess it's a
Mm-hmm.
possibility sometimes.
Yeah, we'll figure things out.
And technically, we get houses without land in Lyme because
yeah.
we work with a community land trust there.
Oh,
So the houses there have a 100-year land lease. So
oh, and so people purchase the houses, but the
Mm-hmm.
land it remains in the trust.
yep.
And that's so that the home can be affordable. If we, land in Lyme would be not affordable for our homeowners.
Right.
So that's the way that we help to make it affordable.
Now, how was this community land trust pre-existing before you became involved?
It was. I think it was something created by the citizens of Lyme to meet the state requirements for affordable housing. There have to be you have to have a certain percentage of affordable housing, otherwise the state, you can grant developers density
Right.
waivers. So that's their way of avoiding, I think, having the density waivers. But it's
Yeah.
great.
And community land trusts have a long history of helping people
Right.
gain affordable housing, going back to, I don't know, the 40s and 50s. So it's a good tradition. I just didn't know that it existed in Lyme.
Yeah, it's
and
nice.
I'm
Yeah.
really glad to hear it. Now, what are some other ways that people can support the program?
There are so many ways. You probably know best.
Well, just from a volunteering standpoint, we have a lot of committees, family selection and support. We have an events committee, a site selection committee, any committee you can think of, probably we can use help on it. And like we mentioned, donating land. You can also donate cars through the Cars for Homes program, where they're auctioned and the proceeds go to support the local habitat. Of course, cash. And the Restore.
And people can donate on the website as well as
Yes.
other ways.
Yes.
And I know we're going to talk a little bit later about the Restore, but those also accept donations of home goods and appliances and building materials.
Yep.
So I think that's,
That's most of them, I think.
yeah.
I mean, we also like to use people in whatever skill they want to bring to the table. So if people have interests that are particular, they have personal interests, we like to try to be creative and brainstorm where that interest might fit into our organization. And usually we can find, some common ground and help make people feel very fulfilled while, fulfilling the mission of Habitat.
How many volunteers do you deal with on a yearly basis? It must be huge.
It is. I haven't run the numbers for 2013 yet, but I think 2012 was more than 1,000. I would say it's probably 1,200, somewhere like that a year. Because, we do get a good amount of groups and things like that. And then we also have a group of regular volunteers who come out one day a week, every week, whether it be to the construction site or the Restore, and they're very vital to us. They put in so much time and energy volunteering, and they really help our projects move along.
Now, if we can figure out how to do the community calendar, or if I can get help, we'll talk for just a minute or so more, and then we'll go to the community calendar, and then we'll talk really about the Restore in well, the two restores actually, in a little bit more depth. But maybe while we're waiting, we can give people the website and phone number if they want to get in touch with you.
Sure. So the website is www.habitatect.org, and the phone number is 860-442-7890.
Thank you. And I think we can go to the calendar. Oh, we can't. Okay. Start talking about the Restore. Now, some people, the Restore, when it started out, was in Salem.
No waterfall?
And recently, it moved, like within the last year since you were on last time.
Yeah.
What precipitated the move, and how is it going in the new location?
Well, the move was, we had a really great partnership with Salem Country Gardens with the space, but it wasn't an ideal retail space since it wasn't a greenhouse. It was very cold in the winter and very hot in the summer, so it wasn't always pleasant to volunteer or shop there. So that's kind of where...
Right, and then in the past year it changed hands, and with that transition it became a natural time for us to look for a new location. And the Burnett's, who now own it, they were really gracious and let us stay as long as we wanted and let us have the time to find a new place that would be a good home for us. But we found a good home up in Waterford, right down the street.
Yeah, you're actually very central and very close to MetroCast.
Yes.
So,
You're ready.
okay, you know what? We'll go to the calendar and we'll talk more about the Restore afterwards.
Sounds
Good.
Steel to put these boats to sea. Workhorses of the Cold War in our prosperity. But when the wall came down, I'd outlived my time. My reward was a spot on the unemployment line. Got a job dealing cards under an emerald tower. Barely made a living till the union gave us power. But when the excuse came, it was the economy, and it was back on the street for the working stiffs like me. Say we got a voice and soul, a vote for change. Seems the only choice is more of the same. Now they take my money and they give it to the banks. I guess that means I owe myself, so to myself is thanks. I pay for bonuses, I pay for jets and limousines. So why can't I pay for my mortgage? Tell me, please.
Grab the microphone. It's yours.
Welcome back to Thinking Green. I'm Rana, and I'm here with Amy D'Amico, who is the Resource Development Manager, and Amanda Shanks, who is the Operations Manager for Habitat for Humanity of Eastern Connecticut. And we had started talking about the Restore, actually the two Restores. And we do have a picture that will show in a little while of the new Waterford store. Now, for people who have been to the Salem store, how is the Waterford one different?
It's about the same size. It's just a little bit bigger. But I would say the main difference is that it's not freezing this time of year.
And it would be really freezing if it was not a heated environment.
Yeah, it would be really, really cold. And right now it's pretty moderate.
And it's actually really at a very,
Put that up there.
yeah, it's actually a really convenient location as well. It's right near the corner of Willits and Boston Post Road.
Yeah. It's about halfway between Stop and Shop and Benny's. It's pretty central.
Are you finding that people are still confused about where you're located, though, since it isn't as visible from the street as the old store?
Yeah, we are still getting calls a little bit about exactly where we're located. So yes, we're open, and it's in Waterford. It's right off the road, so you can't see it from the street. It's behind City Tire. But people are finding it. We're doing pretty good there. So
Now, if people come, like, what can you find there if you are interested in, checking it out?
yeah.
Well, furniture, building supplies, so windows, doors. Sometimes we get things like siding every once in a while, appliances, microwaves, washing machines, dishwashers, refrigerators. See a bathtub there every once in a while. Am I leaving anything?
I know right now they have a bunch of mirrors, like really nice mirrors, and some artwork.
So one of the adventures is you never quite know exactly what you're going to find.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We do also post some things on Craigslist every now and then, just a few things every week.
Now, where is the source of your donation? Mostly people who are moving, or do you get things from, left over from other construction projects and, I don't know.
All of those, yeah. People who are moving or downsizing or just getting new furniture. Like you said, contractors who may have leftover supplies, or if we've had people order cabinets and dislike them, and they
So you
come
get
to
some
us.
brand new.
Yeah, those are very rare, but we love them.
We love those.
And,
So So really, if a person comes every few weeks, they'll find different
Absolutely.
finds.
It's true, yeah.
And sometimes we get corporate donations. Habitat International works with bigger businesses to coordinate drop-offs to, like regional drop-offs to have restores sometimes too.
Now, what are your hours?
We are Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 6 in Waterford. And it will be the same in Plainfield when it opens.
Now, since you've merged with, and Eastern Connecticut is all one habitat, the restore that was in Putnam is being moved to Plainfield. And as I said, since there may be some viewers from that area,
Yeah.
maybe you can give some information about that.
So for anyone who went to the Putnam Restore, it was a small space. It was maybe 2 large bedrooms. It was quite small, and it had stairs to get in, and it was a single door. So it just wasn't the most conducive space to that kind of retail. So we were looking for a space that would be better, better serve our kind of retail, and we found a really good one in Plainfield. It's the old Agway, right off 395 on Lathrop Road. Or the exit is Lathrop Road, but
and
it's off Lathrop.
Yeah, I think it's Route 12. It's actually on Norwich New London Road.
So it's really not far off the highway.
It's really not, no. You can sort of see the back of the building from the highway. And that space it's a big space. It's going to be really a great location.
So what are you in the process of doing to get it ready?
You know best.
Well,
Amy's been up there working.
They're doing some cosmetic work on the sales floor, some work on the walls and floor. There was a adjacent sort of greenhousey cold storage space that we've been working on insulating. And we're also preparing some office space, which will be satellite offices for committee meetings and orientations. So they've been doing a lot of work up there.
Now, when do you anticipate that it'll be open for business?
We don't have a hard date, but sometime in February, I think.
Now, is there going to be a grand opening that's publicized? Or
First, we're going to do a soft opening and just kind of get our feet under us, and then we'll definitely do a real grand opening.
yeah, maybe by Earth Day it'll be time
That's exactly
to do.
what we said. We'd like to do it by Earth Day.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, how did the concept of restores get started? I mean, I'm guessing it, happened not in Eastern Connecticut, but it's a fantastic idea.
Do you know more?
I don't know exactly how it got started, but I can imagine that it's really easy to see the amount of waste that we get rid of, and to be able to resell perfectly usable, appliances, building materials, and furniture, and then be able to support Habitat with that. I can see how natural that is.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically, but I can imagine.
I kind of imagine too. We always, even before there was a restore, I think got phone calls of people wanting to donate their perfectly good items to us, but we build like new houses for our families so that they don't have to do anything in the next several
Right.
years to upgrade or update. So I think that a lot of habitats maybe had that stream of donations ready.
And that way, and it's such a great thing for the environment.
Right.
It's such a great thing for people who need things that may or may not be new or like new, because some of the stuff you find in the restore is new,
It's true, yeah.
and some isn't, but it seems like there's a range and you can find what you want.
Definitely. And the amount of things that we're able to keep out of landfills every year is astronomical. Because when people don't want it anymore and they don't have a place to donate it, it goes to the landfills. But luckily with the restores, we're able to take that in and resell it and put the money to good use. And it's so much cheaper than typical retail. So much cheaper.
I mean, I know from times I've been there, sometimes the bargains you can find are just incredible.
Yeah, it's
I was
great.
there at one point several years ago, and I was really sorry I didn't need big windows, but they had these brand new, like insulated name brand 3-foot by 4-foot windows, and they were something like $30 each.
Right.
And it was amazing. And, you know, if I were working on an addition or something like that, they'd be perfect.
Yeah, we've had some amazing things go through the Restore. Teak furniture and beautiful patio sets and all kinds of awesome things.
Now, you have a store manager, but is this Restore, other than that, volunteer run, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have a Restore manager, and then we have another person. He works in the Waterford Restore, and he's the assistant manager, but he will be coordinating all of the donation pickups throughout the Waterford area, but also in the Northeast too. So those are the only two staff, and then everyone else is a volunteer. We have volunteer cashiers and drivers, and they help customers and
Test appliances.
clean things. Yep.
Now, you mentioned, you know, drivers to do pickups. So if people have things they want to donate, they can get picked up. They don't have to bring them into the store themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're welcome to bring them in, but yeah, we can go out and pick it up. We have a Restore truck, and they just can call or go on our website and work with Alan to get it set up. We try to make it easy.
Yeah. So it's open. It wasn't. I know it wasn't open yesterday. I was thinking about stopping by.
Yeah, it was
Like-
closed yesterday because of the snow.
Yeah, even though you have a warm building, it's still snowy.
And we didn't want any volunteers driving in the snow to get to us. So
Yeah. So how was the Plainfield one? Is that actually going to be larger than the Waterford space, or pretty comparable?
I think it's a little bit larger.
I think if you take into account that side, the extra space, maybe.
They're pretty close in size, but it might just be a touch bigger.
Wow. So that's what I remember, the old spot in Salem, and you know, you're saying the Waterford one is comparable or a little bigger, and so it seems like you're really expanding. Now, the Plainfield one, you said that isn't quite open yet, but is there anything else that people who live up in that area can do to help you at this point?
Yeah, we're accepting volunteers currently to help with the construction of it. So they can kind of sneak in and see what it looks like before it's all done. And they can sign up to volunteer right on our website and help with the construction, getting all that work done. And then as soon as it opens, they'll be ready to volunteer at the store.
Good. Now, going back to the big picture, I guess, of Habitat for Humanity, because I think we've talked a lot about what's happening locally. This is an international organization. What does Habitat for Humanity do outside of Eastern Connecticut?
Well, each Habitat for Humanity is independent. We call them independent affiliates. And there are affiliates all across the country in every state, and I think it's like 70 countries?
I think it's almost 80. I think it's
Yeah.
78 or 79.
And the cool thing about Habitat's work internationally is they do housing, but they also do other initiatives to address the local community's needs. So I think recently we went to Guatemala because they're our tithe partner. We send 10% of our unrestricted donations there. And I think in Guatemala they have a stove project. A lot of people cook, I think, indoors over open flame, so that's not necessarily healthy. So they're working on a stove project that are burn cleaner fuel, less fuel for families. And I think in at least other countries they do water projects. So they're really doing a lot.
Also, Habitat International has a disaster relief team. They have disaster kits, so when a major disaster that affects housing happens, they're able to kind of be one of the first people there to help people get some stable housing back, whether that be just immediate shelters of tents or more long-term true housing. In Haiti, they had these kits of, it was a tent at first, but it got a roof over people's heads for the immediate, and then they worked to get people in housing.
And the cool thing about their work in Haiti is that while they did have volunteer teams go in, they trained a lot of local masons. So they were local people got the skills, got the employment in the aftermath too. So
Well, it seems like part of the mission is just to do things in a sustainable way.
Right.
You know, you build the houses, but like people are set up so that they can keep the houses
Right.
and they have a stable place to live. It isn't just an emergency response. It's
Right.
a long-term one. And I just remembered I do have a couple more pictures from the Restore. Let's see if that's right.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's some volunteers. That's our donation area. So when donations come in, we clean them and organize them. So they're cleaning up some of the donations, getting them ready to sell.
and then this is
The store.
the store, and it's pretty impressive looking.
yeah, I think it feels bigger than Salem, even if it's not necessarily square footage bigger.
It's definitely a more usable space too.
Now, how is it organized?
So when you walk in the big doors, and to your left, sort of in front of you, is all of the furniture. It's the couches and the desks and the bureaus. And then up on the wall, there's some lights and some chairs and some mirrors and paintings. And then on your right there is the register. And if you go past the register on the other side, it's more of the building materials and appliances and windows and doors. So it's kind of in two separate sections, depending on if you just want to decorate your home or if you want to rebuild your home.
Right. Now, we only have about 3 minutes left, so maybe you can just sort of summarize the different ways that people can get involved.
Sure.
Well, like we said, what Habitat's most known for probably is volunteering, either on our work site or at the Restore, or on a committee, or independently. Like we said, if you have a skill you want to share, we would love to have you share it with us. And then there's donating materials to the Restore, cars, property, money. And all of those you can find out about on our website, habitatect.org. Anything else that I forgot?
That's the primary things. We also are always looking for our faith communities to become engaged with us. We are a Christian nonprofit. It's non-denominational, but we like to engage our congregations in the work that we do too.
And of course, people can support you by shopping.
Yes,
In the right place.
it's the best place to shop.
Well, thank you so much, Amy and Amanda. We look forward to seeing the Plainfield Habitat Restore opening in the near future. And everyone can go to the website. It's easy, habitatect.org, right?
Yes.
And next week, let me see, what is next week? Oh, next week, in anticipation of Fiddlehead's 6th birthday, we'll have some guests talking about Fiddlehead's Food Co-op, its history, and the festivities that are planned for its birthday celebration. So we'll see you then, and hopefully we'll see you at the Restore or on a build as well.
Definitely.
So
Thank you for having us.
yeah,
you.
thanks for coming on. Well, I don't know.